obviously you're an incredible artist. You're a storyteller in combination with that, and everybody has their own kind of process. I know you've talked about this in various streams. So once you've Graham Nolan, he's conceptualized kind of the general story, overall story that he wants to tell. What is that process? You can take as much time as you need. You're mapping out the script. What is the creative process of Graham Nolan?
Well, there is no one process for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Because I'm a writer artist, I can either write traditionally where I come up with my ideas, I jot them down on a legal pad or something like that, then type them in to the computer and write a full script for myself. Or I can do it as I just take blank pages, and start laying out the story sequentially, and then making notations about dialogue and exposition and things that I need to put in here to keep the readers up to snuff on the story and to move them along through it. It depends. It depends on how I feel about the story as to the the way I approach each one. You know.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Well, with that being said, you have the Monster Universe, the Monster Verse. I'm a big fan. Obviously, I do it myself of universes, just in general. I love the idea of. It's not necessarily about everybody running into each other, all the characters knowing each other, but the fact that these sort of exist in the same plane has always been intriguing to me. So obviously that's something that you mapped out. If you can, for the audience, because I know a lot of my audience is fan of universes as well. What all books kind of tie in to this universe, and what it's like mapping out that universe itself?
Well, this is where I have to come clean, and that is I did not map out my universe like that. I started in a particular genre, and that genre seemed to write itself. As I wrote each particular book, I started with Monster Island back in 1998. Um, Later on, I did Joe Frankenstein, I think in 2015. And then when I started a crowdfund, the first book I did was the Chenoo, and it was when I did the Chenoo that I figured, you know what, maybe I could tie these things in together. Not to do an overarching story, but to show that my universe can that all these characters are in there. So I started dropping in little Easter eggs, like in the Chenoo, there's a sequence where a guy is a doubting Thomas about this mythological creature, the Chenoo, and he says to one of the guys, says, "Oh yeah, I'll bet you believe that old chestnut about the kid and the monster living in the grain elevators." Well, that's a clear reference to Joe Frankenstein if you've read the book, uh, and establishes them or the village of them into that same story. I then at the end of it, I created this organization, this kind of shadow organization, not knowing where I was going to go with it, but I thought it was kind of cool to have one in a universe. So I put that aside. I do Alien Alamo, and that story takes place in 1957. But then at the end, we flash forward to 2023 or 22, whatever year it was when I did the book, and at the very last page, there's a guy on his iPad, and there's reference to Monster Island in there. He's on a NASA website or something, and it says, NASA denies existence of island floating over the Bering Sea. Well, that ties into Return to Monster Island, because that's how that story starts, with the island floating, in the sky over the Bering Sea. So again, I'm connecting all that stuff. And then when I finally did Ghost of Matacumba Key, it came to me how I could show everybody how this all connects. And so we have this ghost story, this mystery story that's going on. And then at the end, um, that shadow organization I told you about
Hmm.
gets explained. And then other characters from my Nolan verse show up in this thing, and it's those aha moments where you're like, oh shit, what is so cool, so I didn't plot it all out. I don't like to do that and lock myself in, but by keeping my mind open to the ideas of these all existing in the same universe, the ideas came to me about how I could connect them in a very organic way.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to head over to Rippaverse.com to check out our comic book company. We have books, plenty of merchandise, and even some glorious animations from Rippaverse Studios. Next up, possibly our most anticipated book thus far, Yaira.